Brad, I'm so excited to do this podcast because you and I get to chat and hang out.
Yeah.
And I'm so depressed about what we have to talk
I
about at the
know,
same
man.
time.
You know what? But the joy is, though, that we still get to talk about baseball. So
We do.
that we always take that. You never take that for granted. You always get the fact that we get to hang out. You and I get to hang out, and we get to talk baseball. So that's I don't care how bad they're doing. We still always get that. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The reason, I did get to go to the game this weekend. So I got to
Right.
see them. It's third game in a row, or third game this season. I think I went to 3 last season. 0-3 last season, 0-3 this season. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to any more games this year unless something changes.
Yeah.
At this point, they should just pay me to stay away, I think.
It's not just you. I mean, we'll talk about it. People are going to the games. It's not just you.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I do have some thoughts on what I did get to see. Uh I guess I want to start with Carson Whisenhunt because I was actually really excited to see him pitch. I was like, oh, young kid, he's, super high prospect for them. And the same issues that we've been talking about, the fastball is not hopping for today's baseball. And he's got the one great out pitch, and I got to see all of that. And you know what I was thinking as I was watching? I almost wonder if the Nationals, who are, by the way, the Nationals are one of the dog meat teams in the league this year. I don't think we can underestimate why this weekend in Giants baseball was as disappointing. It was because the Nationals are terrible. Like they're not even they're barely trying to win baseball games at this point. So I was watching and I was going like, wow, I think their strategy is to just be super aggressive because it's not like Whisenhunt can throw a changeup on every pitch. And if you don't have a good fastball and your third pitch is still sort of undistinguishable when it comes to whether it's good or not, if you go up there hack happy, you're going to guess right probably 2 out of 4 times and get a ball you can drive. Like James Wood just was like, I'm just going to swing out of my ass at the first pitch that I see.
Right.
And this dude hits the home run to start the game. And I was just like, okay, this is how is he going to figure this out? Now, I think he did battle. He battled through. He gave up 3 solo home runs. But I was also like, oh man, like unless he comes up with a really strong third pitch and a fourth pitch probably as a starting pitcher, I wonder if that's the strategy that all teams are going to take with him, which is just be really aggressive because he can only throw the changeup, every 3 pitches probably, and that's the one you got to worry about, and that's the one that they were swinging through. But everything else is super hittable, and that's kind of what I got out of watching him throw live.
That and that's what we've been talking about leading up to, and everybody's been talking about it. That third pitch, man, Whisenhunt with that changeup, and maybe the fastball sinker. It's more like a fastball. I know they keep calling it a fastball, but then I see it sometimes show up as a sinker, and I don't think he has a fastball and a sinker. But either way, if he can be a dialed in really good 2-pitch pitcher, he doesn't have blow you away type of stuff, but he's got good, like, 6th inning, 7th inning type of stuff that can get you out of jam because he can miss bats. That's the nice thing. But if you're going in there and trying to get through 5 and 6 innings with 2 pitches and an undeveloped slider, and that was the problem too. I was talking with somebody online about that yesterday on Blue Sky. Talking about how the slider was just really, really rough the other day, and his start in New York, he had a really hard time finding control with that slider too. I mean, it was down, it was down, it was down, it was inside, it was down. But then on Saturday, it seemed like he found control with the slider, but he wasn't finding corners of the plate. He wasn't finding edges. He was finding the heart of the plate with his slider. So I think he pretty much abandoned it too. And He just became a 2-pitch pitcher trying to get through 5, which is really, really impossible in 2025.
And the offense was not helping him. There were some moments where they hit a couple atom balls. When I was a little kid and Kuiper would call it an atom ball, not a little
Yeah.
kid, but like a teenager, I was like, why does he call it an atom ball? And I think I was in like chemistry class one day and it just hit me. Oh, not ATOM. Adam, like hit it right, Adam. Oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure out the chemistry. Like, what is this a science term? What is atom ball?
Or why do they keep naming the ball Adam? Like,
Yeah.
what's so special about Adam? Who's this
Adam's
guy?
ball, Adam. Yeah. So Casey Schmidt hit 2 nice drives that maybe in other ballparks would have actually done some damage, but they were long outs, and nothing else was like that. That was really the part about the game that made me really sad is almost nothing was hit hard. Like
Yeah, I know.
like sometimes you'll see the hitters like they would just put something into the gap, and you're like, okay, now things are cooking because hitting could be contagious, and you're just seeing like pop up ground ball to second base. Like the one that hurt the most was they had a rally. I think it was bases loaded, or maybe it wasn't bases loaded, but there were runners on, and Chapman is up, and I'm thinking like, okay, guy knows how to hit a fly ball to drive in a run.
Yeah.
He popped it up to the pitcher.
Yeah. And that's the worst. When you see the pitcher take the fly ball, you go, he really didn't hit it that hard
No.
either. It was
Like,
just a
barely
little
touched it.
looper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of stuff is just absolutely maddening when you're already not scoring runs and you get a looper to the pitcher.
And they did have a couple of smart ABs, and they were able to take some walks and to get some guys on, but just nothing was hit hard. Nothing that made you think, yeah, I take it back. Devers had a couple of nicely hit balls, and what I thought while watching Devers is he is a little bit more in tune with the strike zone right now. He looks way more comfortable with his eye, but in some other cases, he's still swinging out of his shoes at certain pitches that you would think that he would lay off a little bit. But that was in that game. I was like, okay, he's a bit more comfortable now. The stats aren't going to really show you stuff because we're going to talk about this later in the show. But we did our July Players of the Month, and so I was like, okay, like I wonder what he did this month. I think he hit 2 home runs in July. Like,
Yeah.
250,
Yeah.
2 home runs. Like it's just not they're as collectively
Yeah.
as a team, they're not doing much, but that's your number, that's your ace right there. And if he's not hitting, then he's missing in big spots, and then it relies on other people who also may not be hitting. You kind of need him to get hot, and then things kind of come together because your best player is playing well. And that is not happening with him, though. There are some signs here and there. He went deep recently, and like I said, he hit those two hard balls that were nice, and then he doesn't get picked up, so it really doesn't matter. But yeah, I think they lost 4-2. It was just one of the most ho-hum games that I've been to, and I was so thankful that I was hanging out with my old Twitter friends. My friends Darren and Stephanie. Like I met Darren like, gosh, it's been like 16 years ago or whatever, just talking on Twitter about the Giants, and he and I have been to probably 15 games together. And
Nice.
then Stephanie and I think we went to opening day 2 years in a row together. And I hadn't seen both of them since before the pandemic, so that was fun. But otherwise, I was just like, man, this is just not a fun team to watch. And then you saw Melvin's quote after yesterday's game where they lose 8-0 and really have no chance. They're out hit 17-3. Like, if Washington was any good, they would have scored probably like 20 runs.
They left 10 runners on base. Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. They win 8-0 and leave 10 runners on base. That's nuts.
And Melvin,
for a bad team,
Melvin kind of called out the team. He's like, man, we had 40,000 large here. and we
Mhm.
didn't give them a single thing to cheer about. And
Yeah.
that's really, the crux of what we want, or what we wanted this season, was we wanted a competitive and entertaining ball club. And they were actually playing above water in that first half, and then since then they've been one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in being one of the worst teams in the league, I think they're like I think they're 8-16 in the second half or something like that. A stat that
That's
I looked
bad.
up. They're not entertaining. That is the thing, is these games
Right.
are ho hum, 2 hours and 25 minutes. See you later. Really, we didn't really have much of a chance to win this ball game, and that just sucks, because you're just, as a
Yeah.
fan, you're hoping that they're just competing and they have chances, and when they don't, you're just like, oh man, this team is worse than I even realized in some cases.
Well, then there's 500 ball clubs that look like 500 ball clubs, and then there's 500 ball clubs that look like they should not even be close to 500. And when the Giants lose, and when they lose a series, they do it in fantastically awful fashion. I mean, it's you lose a series to the Washington Nationals. You get swept by the Minnesota Twins. I mean, when this team loses a series, it's ugly. And I think that's probably the most frustrating thing, because it's like, what business do they have right now being around 500? And I've seen, articles and talk about, well, gosh, coming up here, we got the Padres coming up, and we're going to face them 7 out of the next 10 games, and those are super important. I don't know about anybody else, but right now I'm not feeling any pressure whatsoever, because I'm not expecting anything. And that's kind of what the sad thing is. You've seen what this team does offensively. I don't think a switch is going to get turned on where they're going to maintain some sort of offensive prowess for the next, month and a half. I really don't think that's going to happen. Um, you can bring up Eldridge, maybe. I mean, you can bring up, the kid that they traded for a backup catcher. You could do little things here and there. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. Chapman's slumping hard, and I think with all the injuries that Devers has right now, I don't think he's going to come around. Um, it's just, and then Yaz. I mean, what was that? Something I read today from Baggerly, that the league average OPS is like 716, and the Giants have 3 guys just barely above that, and one of them was Yaz. And so you're taking some offense away. I know there's a lot of people that just didn't like Yaz and wanted him to be traded, but he's kind of one of the better offensive production guys on our team. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So, yeah, it's not to be all doom and gloom, but I mean, enjoy the rest of the season for what it is. And sure, you could be optimistic and say, well, maybe this team's going to sneak into the playoffs. Realistically, no. So I think you have to look at, the bright spots. Let's watch Hunt, develop more. Let's watch Rodriguez become that 9th inning closer, that lockdown guy. Let's start looking at some things here positively for next season. And that's kind of what I'm looking at when I watch these games. So
Yeah, just losing, the idea of losing to the Nationals at in this stage where the Mets cannot win a baseball game for whatever
right.
reason.
They've lost 7 in a row.
The Padres, who are coming into town today to start a series, a 3-gamer, they're actually playing some pretty good baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But the opportunities are there for the Giants to actually make this interesting, but they just can't. Like, there's
Right.
The Encarnacion gets hurt running out a ground ball. I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it's just like, he's got the wrist thing, and finally comes back, hits like the longest home run that we've seen in quite a while, and then running down first base pulls his hammy. And it just shows you a lot of the guys that they've cultivated, and a lot of these are pre-Posey roster moves, but they're all the same. They're just right-handed DHs who you sometimes have to play in the field because you can't play 3 DHs at a time.
Yeah.
And so something that you want them to go back to a little bit is more athleticism, more speed, more utility. And that is just not how they are built. And I do wonder if this is the offseason where, Buster just goes, okay, I saw what we had. I wanted to give us a shot. And now we really have to change up this roster in a major way. So it's almost like this was like the year to give it a go with a semi-talented roster, and then maybe this is the offseason to break it down. So maybe it's like we do have to take a step back in order to make some adjustments. I'm putting thoughts into his brain, but I he's
Yeah.
got to see some of the stuff that we see.
I think, and I was thinking about it today. I had kind of, read some articles, and I was just thinking, yeah, I want to get back to the athleticism. We talked about that. Buster Posey talked about that, and it kind of shined a little bit early on, and every now and then we'll get a flash of a stolen base, and Jung Hoo Lee reading a ball, in the dirt, or nobody's covering home plate, so he takes off and scores. Little things here and there. Defensively, it has not translated into the outfield. That now, especially now that Yaz is gone, you really see the glaring holes in left center and right field for the most part that the Giants have to fill. You could fill that, and metrics have been shown that if you move Jung Hoo Lee to left field or right field, he becomes a stellar outfielder versus just a below average center fielder. He becomes a much better corner outfielder. So what do you do? And again, like you said, we have way too many DHs. So you can't move Ramos to DH because Devers is going to be your DH. And you're not going to platoon Devers. You're not going to trade for Devers, pay him all that money, and then platoon Devers. So that's not going to happen. So do you trade Ramos? You can get a haul for Ramos. Do you trade Ramos in some sort of package, and some sort of package comes back from Cleveland where you get Steven Kwan, and Steven Kwan is now your center fielder who gets on base, hits for average, has a little bit of pop, but he's a very good center fielder. And then you move Jung Hoo Lee to left field. Now you've got a really good outfield, 2/3 of a really good outfield. And then you need to fill that right field hole. Is Gilbert the type of guy who can play right field at Oracle? We saw him make a couple really good catches the other night, but he's got a hit. That's the other thing. So I think there's a lot of off season work to be done. I'm kind of thinking more and more of trading Ramos. His OPS plus is 122. Can the Giants afford to lose offense at this point? I mean, you kind of almost have to, though, if you've got a guy who's just offense, can't play the outfield, but also slumps hard and goes into really bad slumps, to the point where he's not hitting the ball and not catching the ball. And then what do? You can't hide him anywhere. You can't hide him. I mean, you can only hide him on the bench at that point. But then again, you don't have anybody who can play left field. So Tyler Fitzgerald played 2 games in right field in the last couple of days. So I think they're trying to, maybe get him to become an outfielder. So that's another option, but we've seen, him be streaky as well. So yeah, there's a lot of questions in the offseason. There's a lot of things that can be done. I've always said on this show, we've been doing this show for 5 years. I've always said when the team is bad and you go in the offseason and you don't go to the playoffs, that's probably the most exciting time for me as a fan, because I know changes are going to happen. Especially with Buster Posey, because I knew the Farhan changes after about 4 years. We go, okay, I mean, changes are going to be made, but what are they going to be? Are we going to miss out on free agents? We're going to miss out on this, that. Now with Buster Posey, I'm excited to see year 2, possibly again, a 500 ball club. What is he going to do going into the offseason? So it's going to be actually some exciting offseason time for us.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. So, kind of to your point, they have dropped.
That was my state of the team rant. Just so you know,
they've dropped 10 of their last 11 at home. Super frustrating.
Yeah.
They are currently hitting .234 as a team, and 707 OPS with runners in scoring position, and that is in the bottom 8th in the major leagues.
Wow.
And the frustrating part of it is, like we said, they're still 59 and 59. And they've actually gained a couple of games in the race to that third wild card slot in playing this poorly. So just imagine if they even played 500 baseball, they'd be right in the mix. I guess the one nice thing over the weekend, even though it didn't mean much as far as the game was concerned, is Justin Verlander, 3,500th career strikeout. Probably the last guy to hit that mark ever, right? Just based on the way that starters go these days.
Yeah,
He may
it's
be the
gonna be
last one to
tough.
get to that milestone.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a tough one. It's one of those things. It was fun to see, and that was the. I mean, he struck out the side in the
Yeah.
first inning, so that was super exciting. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a good game. We're gonna, we're dialing. We're gonna win the series. But of course, in the back of my mind, I was like, but we got to score runs, right?
Yeah.
He could pitch. He could pitch his ass off all he wants to, but we got to score runs.
In that same Baggerly article that you were talking about, you could tell he's really frustrated with the defense as well, but he's not throwing the defense under the bus.
Sure.
Because the defense is just so poor. Like,
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
I think Buster wanted to give this roster a run because they were, they've been competitive in the past, and he said, we got to play better defense, we got to pitch better, and they have not played better defense. They've pitched decently well, but the defense is just so bad. I saw Jung-Hoo Lee is statistically, I guess he's fairly poor. Ramos is the worst, maybe in all of baseball. But the other thing, and this is an interesting one, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. A lot of people believe that Willy Adames as a full-time shortstop is not there's not a lot of future for him to stick at that position, which then you wonder, like, okay, well, what do you do with him? You can't move him to third because Chapman is there. He's a big dude and not the niftiest guy in the world, so he wouldn't seem like a second baseman. And then you have Bryce Eldridge that you're hoping becomes your first baseman. And what do you do with Adames if he kind of grows out of that position?
Yeah, I mean that again that comes back to the lot of questions. So many questions. Devers has gone on record too as saying when he played first base, he went on record saying he was more engaged in the game when he was playing the field. So that's tough to hear because he's going to be the DH for a very long time. He's not going to be your first baseman. He's not going to be your third baseman. I mean, and especially because Chapman's around for a few more years. Once Chapman leaves, you're not going to put Devers at third because Devers is going to be X amount of years older at that point. So you're going to want an athletic third baseman. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of tough. It's kind of tough. There's a lot of holes in this team, and I think we knew that early in the season too. And one thing I beat the drum on quite a bit early in the season was depth. Mm-hmm. When this team had injuries, I was getting a little nervous because I thought when this team has injuries, we're going to have depth problems big time. And sure enough, you see it. And that's what Buster's trying to do, is trying to build that farm system. He likes line drive hitters. He likes guys who hit line drives. In our ballpark, that plays. That's something you want. Guys who run into fastballs every now and then, or off-speed pitches and hit them out. That's great. I'll take a lineup. I mean, I will take a lineup of guys who hit 315 up and down 1 through 9 and don't hit more than 15 home runs. I'll take that because they're going to score runs. They're going to find gaps. They're going to get on base. You're going to score 5 runs a game probably. Mm-hmm. And if you have good pitching, you're going to win a lot of ball games. So I'm fine with that. I'm not, I'm not the type of person. I don't need to have a 40 home run hitter on my team. I need guys to get on base, and I need guys to steal bases, and I need guys to take extra bases, and also play defense. So if you can get guys like that, I'm all for it.
wonder what Andres Torres is doing these days. We needed an Andres Torres on this
He's
baseball team.
bedazzling his jeans, man. That's what he's doing.
But we need a player like that who is almost like his confidence is probably higher than it deserves to be, but who cares? Because
Right.
he feels like he's one of the best players. Like we need guys like that. But different
Yeah.
game. I'm just thinking about these guys because I'm still reading Pavlovich's book on the job. It's so good. I just got through the
Yeah.
Buster chapter and the B-Craw chapter and the Timmy chapter
I'm
and the
on the
Madison chapter. It's all good stuff.
I think I'm on the Aces chapter. I just started that. I do so much reading on vacation, and you come back from vacation, you get back into the real world and you start doing stuff. I haven't picked up my Kindle since I got back from vacation like 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I really need to get back to that. But I
Yeah.
did buy an iPad. So I have been
Oh, there you go.
reading I've been reading The Athletic.
That's a great way to read The Athletic, by the
It's
way.
so fantastic. And you and I both have Apple News Plus.
Mhm.
So getting the Chronicle on there and being able to read Slusser, all of her stuff. I mean, I'm just having a blast with that. So I'm reading all of that when I go to bed. And then I'm like, by the time I do that, I'm tired and I'm not going to pick up my book because I should go to bed. So, but I am going to get back to the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing before we move on, Landon Roop looks like he is slowly but surely getting back. I think he threw, I forgot what it is, threw 50 pitches or something on the side the other day.
Yeah.
They do need him because though the only game they won on this homestand so far was a bullpen game.
Right.
Like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. 50 pitches and a rehab start for Sacramento. Good old Bryce Eldridge homered again, which is always nice.
Another Jack. And, JJ, my son, has been on about Luciano, why is he not playing? What's going on? Why are they not bringing him up? And Baggerly wrote that the reason is because the only outfield position that they've tested him at is in left, and Ramos is there. So there's like no space for him.
And it's sad when you say that he's a downgrade in left field defensively
From the
over
worst
Ramos.
left fielder.
I think he's the worst metrically. I think he's the worst outfielder.
Oh wow!
In all of baseball, not just left fielder. I think it's all of the outfield. So yeah.
I want to shout out my buddy Mark Nobita, who listens to this show. He sent me a note the other day. And was just kind of putting the show over and stuff. So nice. Shout out to Mark. Mark is actually one of my pickleball inspirations there. He's been on the pickleball train for a couple years now. So he's like, throwing it out there. I finally bit.
And I'm such a Jimmy Buffett fan. I don't know why I'm not on the pickleball train yet, because Jimmy Buffett was a big pickleball player.
Oh, wow.
He'd been playing for years. So, but someday we have a pickleball. We have an indoor one here in Reno. And it's a big warehouse type of place, but it's all indoor pickleball. But it's funny. This tells you their target audience. I drove by it the other day and it said something about pickleball. And then underneath it said snacks and coffee. That's it.
I'm in.
That's their exactly. It's like, hey, I'm old. I like coffee in the morning and playing pickleball. They open at like 5 a.m. too, which is fantastic. So
you know what's interesting about this pickleball like beginners stage thing for me is I've always been hyper aware of both of my knees. Just there's been some structure, but before I understood exactly what arthritis was, I just assumed like, okay, my knees are in bad shape. I kind of need knee braces and X, Y, and Z. And then I learned about what arthritis was, and I talked to a doctor. He's like, no, structurally, your knee's fine. It's just you have arthritis, and that's why you have the pain. So once I figured out that, I was like, okay, I'm not worried about my kneecap dislocating or ACL or whatever. Like, I mean, you think about that stuff, but it's not like my knees are more prone for it. They're just I just have the arthritis. Playing pickleball and getting in better shape and all that stuff. I am now I'm now able to take off one of my knee braces, and it was
Yeah,
kind of scary.
nice.
And you know what's so funny is I've been wearing 2 knee braces for so long that I almost feel uneven.
Oh no.
Like I'm walking around and going like, "Wait, this feels so weird. Why I have one sleeve and
Yeah.
not the other sleeve?" But I've been able to play. I even was able to play pickleball the other day without the left knee sleeve. So
Oh,
that was kind of
nice.
interesting.
So the movement and everything else is keeping the inflammation down?
I think it is just the the one thing that you don't have to do that you do in some other sports is generally jump. Like there's not a lot of
Mm,
jumping. There's a lot of side to
sure.
side movement and a little bit of back and forth, but there's no like real like dead on sprints. Like if you've played basketball before, you know how to move side to side and up and back.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that movement, and that does not hurt my left knee for whatever reason. So I was like, "Hey, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
take advantage of it and not wear the knee sleeve, which I've been
And
wearing for 15 years."
and they're not generally big movements, right? Every now and then, I'm sure you get kind of a lunge or something, but
More quick, like
yeah,
quick
yeah,
and anticipatory movements.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah.
All right, so shout out to Mark. Thanks for listening and everything. So the I kind of looked at this and I was kind of wondering because I was like, man, where do the Giants fit in like what teams are hot, what teams are cold? The team that's on fire right now is the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god, they're just on fire. The Mariners and the Guardians are also playing really well, and then of course the Padres, which isn't great for us, who are in town today as we record this. The coldest teams, the Mets are like the reverse Brewers right now, and of course the Rockies, the Yankees, surprisingly, post trades, the Orioles, and the Nationals, who came in and kicked our butts in 2 of those games. It's
Yeah.
just it's just so interesting to look at teams, and I sort of so I looked at the Giants. I was just mostly looking back 2 weeks. The Giants are 5-7, which puts them kind of square in the middle, but I could have sworn that they were like 2-13 or whatever. But nope, they're not that bad. And you know what the other thing is that's kind of interesting? In the second half, it feels like they've been outscored by like a million runs. They're only -5, and I think they were plus 17 going into the All-Star break. So they still have I think they still have a plus run differential. So it just things just like look worse than they are
Yeah.
statistically because they're still 59-59. But sometimes they just play so poorly and you're
Yeah.
just like, "Oh my gosh, they got to be like worse than they are." And no, they're kind of hanging in there. And like I don't expect it, but let's say they win 2 out of 3 from San Diego. They are right back in the mix again, and so that would be kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
which is weird, and that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, you look at 500 teams and you go, well, that looks like a 500 team. They're losing close ball games. They're winning close ball games. One swing one way or the other, and they're probably 10 games over 500. But then you look at the Giants and you go, you play like you do against. I mean, they get swept by the Pirates, and then at home a couple weeks ago, and then they lose a series to the Nationals at home, and you're like, well, if you can't win at home, are you really a 500 ball club? If you're winning on the road but not winning at home, those two can easily swap at any moment. You start losing on the road and winning at home, you're still a 500 club, but when you're losing series like you're losing, it just doesn't feel like they belong anywhere right now. And that's kind of the weird part. I don't know where they belong and who they are anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get to our players of the month. We forgot to do this last week, by the way.
Hmm.
We try and
Yeah.
look at the player of the month offensively and from a pitching perspective, and also kind of like the surprising unsung offensive and pitcher of the month. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll throw it out there. So I have the pitchers this month for the month of July. I shouldn't say this month. It's already August 11th, but we're not too far into it. But pitcher of the month for me for the month of July was a guy that we just talked about, and he's coming back, and that's Landon Roop. And he had a really nice July. He had 4 starts in July, only a 1-1 record, but again, you can't blame him. I think he gets even less defensive help than Verlander does,
Yeah.
is what Baggerly was
I
writing.
read that
So,
too. Yeah.
yeah, so he's having a really tough time getting some sort of defensive support. So if you look at his FIP, it's 3.01, but his ERA is 1.80. Still not too terribly far off, but a good FIP of 3.01. And his Ks per 9.45 for the month of July. He did pitch in 20 innings in those 4 starts, and had a .4 WAR. And in those 20 innings, he had I'm trying to. I mean, might also start having to wear glasses during the show, Garrett. It's getting pretty bad. 20 in those 20 innings, he gave up 20 hits, and only 4 earnings in those 20 innings, and then walked 8, struck out 21, only gave up 1 home run in the month of July, which was really good. And then he got hurt, and then we missed him. So, but I got to give it to him. I was looking at Robbie Ray's numbers. I'm looking at Logan Webb's numbers. And Logan Webb, as you remember, in July, had a really rough time. He had a 6.18 ERA.
Yikes.
Yeah, and Landon Roop hanging out in his 4 starts. And everybody else only had 1 more start than him. Verlander had 5, Robbie Ray had 5, and Logan Webb had 5. But Landon Roop definitely, enough to win that Player of the Month for our show. Pitcher of the Month, sorry, not player.
I looked at a few players again. I was trying to force it to like Devers. I was like, maybe Devers had like a sneaky good month, and we're just not realizing it. Nope, it wasn't Devers.
Yeah.
Ramos has been consistent offensively. He hasn't been consistently great, but he's been sort of consistently, slightly above average. But really, when you look at who actually was hitting the ball with a little bit of power, and driving in runs, it's Adames. He had 6 jacks and 14 RBI. 16 RBI actually. And he hit 333 in July. Now, he was in such bad shape earlier in the season. It's not like his numbers shot up, but they're starting to become a little bit more serviceable. I think he's still hitting in like the 230 somethings, but to show that power, he's got to hit 20 jacks, 25 jacks to be worth that value that they paid him, especially as his defense is maybe not as good as we thought it was going to be. But he delivered in July, so I'm going to give it to Adames. What about for your unsung pitcher of the month?
Yeah, that's a good pick, Adames. He's kind of been carrying the offense, and it's not saying a whole lot, but
Yeah.
But he really has turned it around, and I still think him and Devers are going to come flying out of the gates in 2026 because they'll be more comfortable being with the club, more comfortable in the city, and then when you start out in spring training and you're in Arizona, this will be Devers' first spring training in Arizona too, which would be kind of interesting. But having those 2 guys, I think, flying out of the gates are going to help this team in 2026. My unsung pitcher of the month for the month of July was a guy that we talked a lot about in July because we lost Eric Miller, and we thought, oh shoot, what are we going to do with lefties going forward? We don't have many lefties, so they bring up Joey Lucchesi.
Yeah.
And he pitches 12 1/3 innings out of the bullpen. That's second most, only to Spencer Bivens. And we know Spencer Bivens is kind of our mop-up guy. At that time he was. Now he's a little more leverage guy, which I know you don't like it, but he is a more leverage guy right
now. Man, you get that Verlander and Bivens back to back, and you're talking about like, hey guys, we just want to get through this thing and not die.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, Spencer Bivens had an 8.53 ERA in the month of July, so he wasn't anywhere near this. But Lucchesi in 12 1/3 innings, he didn't give up a run. He gave up 5 hits, 1 walk, struck out 14 in those 12 1/3 innings. and only, yeah, like I said, only walked one, and he had a 0.00 ERA. So I mean, he was almost in the running also for pitcher of the month, but I kind of lean towards starters in that, unless you've
Yeah.
got a guy who's got like 7 or 8 saves in the month, whatever month it is. But for Lucchesi to really pick up the left-handed torch, and kind of put our minds at ease of what are we going to do when Shohei comes up? What are we going to do when so and so left-hander comes up? Now at least we know. And Eric Miller is on the mend, and he's on his way back, hopefully soon. So you're going to have 2 solid lefties in the bullpen, which will be really nice. So that's my unsung pitcher of the month.
I am wondering what you think about Randy Rodriguez, because again, bringing up JJ, because he's very vocal about Randy Rodriguez. He was vocal about Randy Rodriguez when
Yeah.
Doval was actually pitching well. He's like, nope, I don't trust him. Randy Rodriguez, he's the guy. And I've started calling him eighth inning Randy a little bit, and it's because I want he's got to prove that he can close.
He's got to prove
still
it.
Such a young guy,
Yeah.
but he's getting a great opportunity, especially where if the Giants fall out of the mix, there's a little bit less pressure on him to close out these games. But you like to see him in some opportunities, and maybe one of those things as you sort of figure out roles for next year is like, can we get some data on if this guy can do it? Because obviously he made the All-Star team, so he can pitch in that 7th and 8th inning like lights out. But it's a little bit different pressure wise when it comes to the ninth.
Yeah, I like Randy Rodriguez. He doesn't have the track record, to be that 9th inning guy, to be that lights out closer. But I think he's got the makeup. Just watching him, he makes me feel more comfortable than Doval does. Just because I feel like when Randy Rodriguez starts off an inning with a walk, I looking at him and watching his makeup, I feel like he nuts up and he gets down, not down on himself, but hard on himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to turn it around. And I'm not saying Doval didn't want to, but watching Doval, you know how it was a little bit frustrating to watch him walk the first 2 batters and then be like, is he in there?
They
Like,
called him Tranquilo, man.
I know, but I was like, is he in there? Like, is he? I mean, we got used to Brian Wilson and Sergio.
Yeah.
We used to call him Emo Romo, right?
Yeah.
Emo Romo. And watching those guys, you thought, yeah, God, when they got pissed off at themselves, you knew it, and you knew, okay, here they go. They're gonna bear down. And he's gonna put 2 miles an hour or more on his fastball. So that's what I like about Rodriguez. I like his makeup, and I think he could be there. And this is a fantastic way for him to really test the waters. He's got 6-7 weeks to really kind of grab that role, and then go into next season and say, hey, we got a closer. Because after last season with Ryan Walker, we thought, hey, we got a closer, but we always knew in the back of our minds that if Doval came around, now you've got a competition. But then do you trust either guy? I think that was the problem with this season. I think that was even one of our questions, our predictions at the beginning of the season, is who is going to get more saves.
And look, if Randy is the guy, then you just tell Ryan Walker, hey, dude, just you don't have to worry about closing. You're the eighth inning guy. And then he can, because I think there was some pressure on him and probably affected him to be the outright full-time closer. But then at the same time, like you said, the second that he was going to leave the door open, we knew that they were going to go towards Doval just because he'd been there before. So that's a little bit of a mind game in and of itself.
The funny thing too is I think it depends on the person. I hear a lot of, the 9th inning is way different than pitching the 8th inning. There's more pressure and everything else. But my personality, if I was pitching the 8th inning, I would feel the pressure. I'd feel a lot of pressure, especially with a lead, because I would want to get my guy that save. I would want to get it to the 9th where we still have the lead. I don't want to cough it up and have costed him a chance without him even touching the rubber, So that's just my makeup and who I am personally. I that would drive me nuts if I blew a hold in the 8th inning and all of a sudden I'm like, man, I lost the save for you.
Some of it also though is who gets the blame. Like like you could give, like, let's say the Giants go up 3-2 in the 8th, and then Walker gives up a run in the 8th, and then or let's say let's say the Giants, the game gets tied, and then they take a lead, and then the closer finishes it out, or the closer blows it. The story is the closer, no matter what. Like the 8th inning
Sure.
guy, he gets a little bit of a couple sentences in the paragraph, but the closer's going to get a couple paragraphs if he gives it up. So
Yeah.
that I think that's the difference. Um, let's say, actually, I'll just go with my unsung, and my unsung is Casey Schmidt. Casey Schmidt hit 255 and had 4 bombs and 10 ribs. Now, the highest batting average for the month was Wilmer, but he had obviously less ABs. But Casey Schmidt had 4 jacks, which I would not have even thought based on what we saw. But I do remember, didn't he hit like a grand slam like before the All-Star break? And
Yeah.
Afraid, and there may have been like 2 grand slams or something like that, but he got a little bit of a hot streak, so it wasn't necessarily consistent. But I can live with Casey Schmidt hitting 255. I just can't live with him hitting 180, striking out every other at bat,
Right.
right? Because that's
Yeah,
how he stays on the field, is that he actually puts the ball in play.
And we've already got those guys. We don't need any more. We've got plenty of them. So do something different. Yeah.
All right, so for this upcoming week, the Giants have the Padres Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday day game, and then the Rays come into town. The Rays and the Giants are sort of similar in record-wise and such.
Yeah.
The Rays come in Friday and Saturday night game, and then Sunday. So that is the week. Just a quick look at the standings. Like I said, the Brewers are just hot. Like the Brewers have 73 wins, and the next highest team in all of baseball is the Blue Jays with 69, and then a bunch of teams, the Tigers, the Phillies, and the Dodgers all have 68 wins. Surprisingly, the Padres are just like only 2 games behind the Dodgers. That's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah.
So they're mixing it up, man. And the Giants, when we look at wild card standings, so for the 3 wild card teams in the National League, the Cubs have 67 wins, the Padres have 66 wins, the Mets, who are in a free fall, have 63 wins, but they're holding on to that 3rd wild card. The Reds are a game and a half back. The Cardinals are 3.5 games back. The Giants are 4 games back. And then in the American League, you have the Mariners and the Red Sox and the Yankees are the top 3. The Guardians are a half game back of the Yankees. The Rangers are 2.5 games back of the Yankees for that 3rd spot.
Jeez.
All right, this week in Giants history. Now we're doing this thing where the AI has got to give us some good information here. So I think this is right. I didn't actually double check it, but I think I saw this on social media. August 7th, 2007. Do you know what day this was?
Say the date again.
August 7, 2007.
2007. No.
Barry Bonds hit 756, a 3-run shot off of Washington Nationals pitcher Mike Basic. I think that's how you pronounced
it. So he wasn't a very good pitcher. He was just pretty basic.
Or it might be back sick, B-A-C.
Oh, it is back sick.
Yeah,
it is
okay.
back sick. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's infamous now. Yeah.
Yeah. Back sick. Bonds off of back sick to hit the 756 at AT&T Park. Do you remember where you were when you heard that news?
Oh man, I was probably watching the game. I had a 1-year-old. So yeah, she was almost 1. So so I'm pretty sure I was probably home watching the game, tired, I think. But I do remember watching the game when that happened. So yeah.
We had been to a game, I want to say, like everyone was trying to time, when you're going to go to the park to see Bonds hit it, right? and we had bought the tickets like a few weeks before. So I want to say we were at the park maybe that week or maybe a little bit before that, thinking that he was going to do it, but we probably missed it by several games. But I just remember the idea of like, okay, we got to time this thing. Can we get at the right game when he does it? And then by the time you're there, you're like, okay, he's a few away or a couple away, so it's not going to happen. But yeah, we went to games that season to see him because I don't think
Oh,
it was
yeah.
a secret that he was, once he broke that record, they were gonna they're gonna be gone, be away from him.
I was at the ballpark for Barry Bonds' home run number 1 with the Giants.
Oh, the Florida Marlins game.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was it. I always joke with people. I like the Grateful Dead, and that was the only time I've ever seen the Grateful Dead live because
National anthem.
yeah, Jerry, Bob, and I think Phil sang the national anthem. So I was like, yeah, that's the first time I've ever, and the only time I've ever seen the Grateful Dead live. Yeah, they sang the national anthem, the flyover. Everybody was super excited, because the Giants were home, they were staying. And then Barry Bonds hit that 3-run shot. I think it was like his second at bat. I don't think it was his first at bat as a Giant. I think it was his second at bat. But yeah, the place just went nuts. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
I was definitely watching that on TV. I remember that.
Yeah, I was out in not in the new bleachers, because that's when they put out the new bleachers. But I was up higher in, still left field, but they used to close off down left field a little bit lower because you'd be looking at the stand, so they didn't sell
All right, Giants fans, cross your fingers that they can pull off some victories this week. They need them desperately. You lose all 3 of these games against the Padres, and look, the Padres are the second wild card. They're not the third wild card, but that is kind of proof of who you are. If you're trying to get into the wild card and they're right there in the mix, like this is kind of who you compare yourself against. So I would be fine with them just competing and playing good baseball, man. That's all I want to see.
Yeah, and that's, I think so. That's what we talked about at the beginning of the season. We would love to see a competing ball club, and I think that's kind of, we've lost that. We don't have that right now. They're doing okay. And when they win, it's exciting still. Don't get me wrong.
They waste all their runs though in those wins.
Yeah.
They win 12-4, and then they score 3 runs over the next 4 games, and I'm like, can we save them?
Yeah, I'm looking. Okay, I'm trying to think. I did go during the chase. I went to a ball game, and what year was this? 2006.
Okay,
that was the last game I went to before you and I went to a game last year.
Wow, so you were almost gone like 18 years from
it was
a live Giants game.
It was a long time, yeah. So this was 2006. Unfortunately, I don't have the date because in moving pictures, digital pictures, and all that, it got wiped out. It was 2006 though. It was probably June. Actually, I do have the date. June 24th, 2006. Bonds hit number 719.
Oh, there you go.
So I was there for that. So I was,
That's a good one.
I was there for part of the chase, which was kind of fun. It was over 700, so I was just excited to see him hit like something in the 700s. I was happy. Yeah.
All righty, that is it from here. We will be back next week. So We Want Winners recorded an episode yesterday, so that went up this morning on the audio feed and the video feeds. It would be yesterday morning based on when people listen to this, but the live streamers, it was this morning. And then we'll have another episode of Valks Valley. We are in the mix. I can actually give this news here. So I mentioned it on our last episode of Valks Valley that we are going to change the podcast name of the show. We're going to combine the Warriors and the Valkyries podcast to Golden State Hoop. But we're going to have segments. So we're going to have the Death Lineup segment, which is about the Warriors. And currently, the episode is called, the show is called Valks Valley. We are thinking of adjusting because the Valkyries, when they play at the Chase Center, they call the Chase Center Ball Holla.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
So Brian has this idea of changing the podcast name of our Valkyrie stuff to Pod Holla.
I like that.
So I think we're going to change from Valks Valley to Pod Holla. We'll talk about it this week on Valks Valley until we change it. We got to get some graphics work done. We're also going to get some graphics work done for Golden State Hoop and all that. So things are slightly just changing visually and maybe in name, but we're still going to have our separate segments and shows. We're just playing around with stuff because we can.
Yeah.
So, all righty. That is it from here. For Brad, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.
Peace.